Ooh. I would advise you to choose your words more carefully. Have you forgotten that the fate of your badge rests in my hands? I have had enough of such coercion. Can't you think of some other way to threaten me that does not involve my badge? Overruled! Despite my repeated warnings, you show no signs of reflection. It seems I must remind you once more. The Prosecutorial Investigation Committee can't leave someone such as yourself unchecked. Yeah, I object to your overruling. Neither the fact of my badge nor the actions of the committee will impede my progress. Providing Mr. Keyes' innocence, that is all that concerns me. Your words are like those of a defense attorney. If you are willing to go that far, then I will show you no leniency. In the name of the Goddess of Law, I shall turn your words against you. I really quite like the extendo hammer. And at that moment you will forfeit the title of Prosecutor. You shall regret this. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So Judge Courtney's reasoning. I shared my reasoning with you the day before. Since Mr. Elber did not see the body when he passed through the tunnel, it could only have been dropped down the well during the show. The only one who could have performed such an act is the suspect. Naturally, you have evidence to support your reasoning. Of course she does. Who do you think she is? Earlier I received the official autopsy report. Babysitting that kid must be difficult. The time of death was the night before the body was discovered. In other words, the day before the show. The cause of death remains unchanged, a stab wound 4 inches deep. Jesus. Time of death, sometime from 3 AM to 6 AM on March 27th, died instantly from a stab to the neck. Whew. Simon Keyes was not present on the stage for a period of 15 minutes. There was sufficient time for him to drop the body down the well. She has not investigated the courtyard yet. That means... it seems there is a hole in your argument. You seem quite confident. Can you present evidence to support your claim? Of course I can, and I will. Oh yeah. So I shared my reasoning with you the day before. Will pressing be gets me extra dialogue, I suppose. So you continue to believe Mr. Keyes is the murderer, just as you continue to speak as if he is not. Do you have any decisive evidence? Do you know the identity of the true criminal? You do realize you need proper evidence too. I am a representative of the Goddess of Law. My words are her holy orders. Indeed, if I state something is black, it is black. If I state something is white, it is white. So what would you call grey? If you wish to disprove my words, then present your evidence at once. Right. Couldn't it be possible that Elber just failed to notice the body? Miss Assistant's assistant, did you also enter the hole? Huh? How did you know? I noticed that there was some mud stuck. There was some mud stuck on your lovely hair ornament yesterday. That's amazing. Your powers of observation would even put a great thief to shame. In the name of the Goddess of Law, answer me truthfully. If there was a dead body in that tunnel, would it have escaped your notice? Well, the thing is... yeah, I think I would have noticed something like that. What if it was suspended above you? Do you understand now? Mr. Elber did not see the body. Probably because it was suspended above him. Could only have been dropped down the well during the show. I mean, she's not wrong. Not wrong there. The body was dropped down the well during the show. I'd like to hear your reasoning for this. I don't know why we're disputing this. We know it was dropped down the well. The day before the show, Mr. Elber lent the key to Mr. Knightley. The key to Knightley's cell, huh? Mr. Knightley escaped from his cell with the key and entered the cage Mr. Keyes had prepared. Mr. Keyes then moved the cage to the courtyard and proceeded to murder Mr. Knightley. The next day, when Mr. Elber passed through the tunnel, he did not come across the body. Please wait a minute, that doesn't seem right at all. Wasn't there a sweet smell in the tunnel? Mr. Knightley must have passed through it. Mr. Knightley passed through the tunnel after Mr. Elber did. Mr. Elber passed through the tunnel at the start of the show. However, the body wasn't found until the end of the show. Which is why you believe the body was dropped during the show. Yes, and there is only one person who could have carried out this act. Yes, keys. We get it, we get it. But you're wrong. Right, where is it? All the way at the end, of course. Simon's device. Yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it, you bitch. Unfortunately for you, Judge Courtney, your argument doesn't hold any water. Just like the well. There was a device set up around the well here. What is this device of which you speak? Are you aware of the stunt in which Mr. Keyes is blown away by the elephant during the show? I have heard of it. It would have been right before he exits the stage. He tied one end of a length of rope to himself and the other end to a set of weights. He was able to perform the stunt by dropping these weights down the well. Wouldn't he have spent the whole play suspended it up in the air? That's why he had a stopper attached to the weighted end. The stopper was removed by pulling another rope. Around the well, we found evidence that the weights were switched with the victim's body. This was done by the real killer in order to shift suspicion away from them. But, judging from the time of death, the murder was carried out in the early morning of the show. The true criminal had until the time of the show started to set up the device. My god, he really is persistent. But didn't Simon Keyes make that thing? And since he was also the one who used it, he is the best suspect. Don't you agree? If Mr. Keyes were the murderer, he would not have needed to do that. Miss Berry? Yes? Was there anyone else who knew of the device he set up? Well, let me see. Since we had to get everything about our show approved by the people here at the prison, I say there were others who knew about it. And there you have it. I see. You have indeed performed a thorough investigation. Which is why I am even further perplexed. Why do you not use your efforts for justice? My actions are not just? Who made that decision? You cannot understand even that? Even now? Providing support to a defense attorney, despite being a prosecutor. It is quite unnatural. This goes against the rules. I am merely choosing to do what I think is right at this particular time. I travel down the road I have chosen. Your comprehension does not matter in the least. However, if anyone intends to interfere, I will show no mercy. Perhaps this is a calling from the Goddess of Law. If you intend to rebel against her divine will, I will have no choice but to hand down my verdict. Pay heed to my words. I have one more reason to suspect Simon Keyes of murder. Of course you do. They never give up, do they? Never ever give up. Reason for suspicion. If the body came from the courtyard, how was Mr. Knightley brought here from the detention centre? Only Simon Keyes could have provided such an opportunity. Because of this fact, I find it most difficult to suspect any other party of this crime. So while Simon Keyes was moving supplies for the show, he visited Mr. Knightley's cell. Does that not strike you as odd? Why else would he have brought a large covered cage with him? Oh, that does seem pretty suspicious. Mr. Keyes was merely that kind of person. It is entirely possible that he carelessly brought it there. And if that is possible, then it is also possible that he was assisting in the escape. Am I wrong? I suppose I must refute her theory with evidence. Indeed. Bum bum bum. You seem to believe that Knightley was killed in the courtyard. So can you say when he was brought here? On the day of the show, between midnight and 8 AM. I'm positive it could only have been during that time. So after rehearsal had ended and before the show began. The most pressing issue is... Bam bam bam. Ba ba ba. Are you certain there were no other routes? A trial date had not yet been determined for Mr. Knightley. Since he was not a prisoner, he could not have easily entered the prison. He would have stood out too much. Meaning no one testified seeing him there. Well done. May you be blessed by the Goddess of Law. As I said, Mr. Knightley was taken into the prison through a less conspicuous manner. Only Simon Keyes could have provided such an opportunity. I think you're wrong. Because of this. Mr. Keyes wasn't the only one who had the opportunity. Who else could have had the opportunity? The timestamp on the security camera is off by 3 hours. This means there was a 3-hour gap in time. During that time, anyone could have done it. If that were the case, then the murderer would have created the gap in time intentionally. It would not have been a simple camera failure. Are you saying that it's possible? It's possible if you had access to this. There we go. The circuit breaker. In this courtyard we found the circuit breaker for the security camera. It was possible to access the breaker room both before and after the murder. What? Oh yeah, triple dots, of course. Unfortunately, it appears that you have fallen short of your intentions. Mr. Edgeworth hasn't fallen short of anything. So, can you explain how the murderer obtained the key to the breaker room? Oh yeah, that's right. It was locked, wasn't it? The warden hangs on to the key, right? The breaker room has great importance even in a prison. There is no one who would be able to obtain the key so easily. Well, I can think of someone. Oh, the music. Well, what did you say? This person, the murderer, was able to get the key. They didn't even need to steal it. There can't be anyone like that. Besides, the breaker to the electrified fence is in that room too. Only one person could have done this. I didn't want to believe it myself, but I trust that my logic is sound. The person who used the key to enter the breaker room is... of course, Patricia Rowland. The murderer is... woof. Right as I was about to say. Of course. Warden Rowland. Oh my, what an energetic little puppy. That's because this dog is extremely fond of sweets. It seems to detect a sweet scent on you. Oh, heavens no. I'm not even wearing perfume or anything of the sort. What the dog detects is the sweet scent of death. How poetic. However, does that not imply that I committed a murder? That's what I think. Whew. What? The warden is... the murderer? Mr. Edgeworth, are you serious about your statement? Oh, how amusing. The very thought of a warden committing a murder. Oh god. Sounds like a mystery... like something out of a mystery novel. Precisely. Your reasoning is in contempt. Nothing of the sort. I did not want to believe it myself. But, based on the evidence, I have no choice but to believe it. This evidence proves that Warden Rowland is the murderer. So, small bruises on his head has a sweet scent. The smell gave you away. As you can plainly see, someone has taken notice. This police dog? He tracked a sweet smell that came from the body. And right now, he is telling us that the same scent is also on Warden Rowland. You're a cruel one to accuse me of murder based on something like that. Right, Justine, darling? It appears that Judge Courtney has reached the same conclusion as I have. Mr. Edgeworth, this couldn't have been just a coincidence, could it? The key to the breaker room, and the same scent on the body. If it were only one, it could have been seen as such. It appears we have reached a conclusion. We should now listen to what the warden has to say. Indeed. Until we do, we cannot close this case. Oh my goodness. Everyone with such scary faces. So I'm the only one who could have been the murderer. That is so weird. That just cannot be. Okay. So now she's gonna say why she can't be the murderer. Okay. Why I can't be the killer. I heard all about the case from Justine Darling here. Had I committed the murder, it would have taken place inside the holding cell. But I couldn't have moved the body. I never went into the prison. I was caught up in my work. Up until the end of the show, I was stuck in my office. Check up on it if you like. You'll find there's no records of me entering the prison. I don't know what reasoning you had, but I can say for sure. I cannot be the killer. But Miss all barked at you, pal. You gotta be the culprit. Oh heavens, it's not possible. I already told you. I never went to the prison. If you think I'm lying, why don't you check the records? She wants us to check the records. She does seem confident. For now, all we can do is listen to her and try to draw out more information. I do hope you understand, Mr. Edgeworth. Right, okay. It's pressing time. From Judge Courtney, are you two close? As close as fish and water. Are you jealous? Jealous? On the first day of the investigation, she filled us in on the situation. In exchange for our cooperation, she explained the details of the case to us. How could you say that? You're so mean, Justine, darling. The truth is the truth. I believe it should be told as such. But for some reason, those two seem kind of scary. It would have taken place inside the holding cell. The murder occurred inside the cell? How can you be so certain about that? Well, everywhere else would be under surveillance, right? The victim's blood was found there too. That blood was actually from when he was struck by Elbert, but I don't think it's necessary to inform her of this fact. That doesn't mean it's proven. You do know that. But I see no contradictions in assuming the crime scene was at the detention center. Never went into the prison. You never went into the prison? Do you have proof of this? My, can't you wait for me to finish? Oh. Alright. You were in your office the whole time. Nothing strange happened? Nope, nothing at all. Were you looking for something? I'm not too good at tidying up. I always forget where I put everything. The other day, I even lost track of an important piece of evidence. How could you have made such a grave error? If someone were to take something from me, I wouldn't even notice it the entire year. I guess it will be hard to attack with the key to the breaker room. On the day of the incident, I was working in my office, and searching for lost items. In other words, I couldn't have gone to the prison, even if I had wanted to. You'll find there's no record of me entering the prison. You did not enter the prison from the entrance. But what if there was another route? Oh my, are you suggesting something like a secret passage? I don't know if anything like that exists. Here's my firm belief. You did possess an alternate route. That route was neither the entrance nor a secret passage. The route you used was from here. Quite literally where I stood. The barbed wire fence. You would have moved nightly to your office first. This office leads directly to the garden side of the courtyard. If you had moved through here and past the barbed wire fence, you would have arrived at the prison without passing through the entrance or a tunnel. I wonder what Mr. Edgeworth is saying. Haven't you noticed? There's a high voltage current running through the fence. Yeah, obviously she couldn't have passed through it like that. The current to the fence could be switched off at the breaker room. And you were the only one who had the key, Warden Roland. Ah, great. Most amusing. However, the breaker room is located on the prison side of the courtyard. How would the Warden have accessed it from the detention centre? Ah, quite right. Gotcha there, Mr. Edgeworth. That's... If there is no record of her passing through the prison entrance, it would not have been possible for her to turn off the fence's breakers. Oh no! But Warden Roland was the only one who had access. Don't let this faze you, Miles. But I don't have a solution for this. She'll get away. Now, Uncle Ray never said, don't think, you know. It's just not good to be so stubborn about it. That's all. But no matter how you think about it, Warden Roland couldn't have done this alone. Accomplice. Prosecutor Edgeworth, if you have failed to come up with a new plot... Okay. I am not amused. Interrupting my judgment only to be silent. Without thinking, I just blurted out objection. I have to answer. I won't let this end here. My reasoning is not over yet. So how did she use the breaker without leaving the detention center? It's perfectly possible. With this method. What made it possible to turn off the breaker? She had an accomplice. It was indeed impossible for one person, but what if there were two? Exactly. Just what I expected from you, Miles. Yes. You had an accomplice on the prison side. Enough. Oh, pardon me. I am disappointed in you, Prosecutor Edgeworth. What's that, pal? You making fun of Mr. Edgeworth? The inmates at this prison all wear bracelets. If they try and go where they please, they will set off the alarm. Ah, so you noticed. This is a prison after all. Not only the prisoners, but the guards too, are under constant scrutiny. So why didn't anyone notice Elbird? The only ones allowed to move around freely are the animals. And they certainly could not have used the breaker. But it's still possible that a person did it. Excluding the inmates and the guards, what kind of person would you say it was? I would probably say it's a model inmate. We can't exclude the inmates and guards just yet. There was only one person, one whose movement was not restricted. This evidence shows that there was someone in the prison who could move around freely, also the person who saw the body. Saw its bracelet. At the time of the incident it was broken and did not respond to the door sensor. That is... It looks like the bracelet worn by the prisoners. This belongs to a certain model inmate, and it's broken. What? Just who on earth does this belong to? We're gonna name and shame. Frank saw it. The warden's favourite inmate. Uh-oh. Ew. Just noticed the thing's licking her face. Don't you think it's strange? He managed to keep this hidden while he moved around freely in his daily prison life. Golly, when you think about it, it shouldn't be possible. I'd hazard a guess that this was because he was a special case. Just like Sir Handogan in the special cell. The prosecutor's statement is mere conjecture. You could find out by simply asking Sawyer himself. It is my firm belief that Mr. Sawyer and Warden Roland were partners in crime. Due to their collaboration, another route surfaces. The real route by which Knightley's body was moved to the prison. There were two obstacles needed to be dealt with. The security camera in front of Knightley's cell, and the electric fence in the courtyard. Both these problems could have been solved with a single stroke. By having Sawyer switch off the breakers in the breaker room. Hold it. Oh, Mr. Edgeworth, could you wait one moment? Do you still intend to deny it, Warden Roland? I give in. I confess. Warden Roland. No, this cannot be. Yes, it's just as he says. Frank Sawyer and I were partners in crime. No way. Like how he said nothing. You did it, Mr. Edgeworth. Well done, Miles. At last, we have the real culprit cornered. Like Mr. Edgeworth said, Frankie operated the breaker. But we were not responsible for Knightley's murder. I was going to say death. What? Warden Roland, whatever do you mean? Judge Courtney, would the goddess of law hear my confession? The goddess of law is merciful. She will absolve you. I was being threatened. Ah, yeah, sure. That's why I had no choice but to do as I was told. So who was threatening you? Sirhan Dogan. That assassin. Dogan? It's been going on since that man came to the prison. I will never forget that day. Somehow I don't believe her. Ooh! When we were both alone, he suddenly said to me, I have many dogs outside the prison. Dogs? Loyal dogs who obey my every command. I soon realized that what Dogan referred to were not really dogs, but his human henchmen. And that's not all he said. You'd better watch how you treat me, if you don't want you and your family to become dog food. Oh Jesus. I had no choice. I gave him the special cell. I gave him anything he desired. Anything he desired. You don't mean the supplier? That's right. Anything he ordered, I would deliver to him. An underground dealership. I was the one who won over Frankie. It was simple. I just offered him special privileges within the prison. And these underground dealings? Once a week in the middle of the night, Frankie would shut off 2 of the breakers. So I could move from my office to the courtyard without being seen by the security camera. I would go past the fence and drop the goods down the well near the prison. And then I'd sprinkle this perfume over it. So that's the true identity of the sweet scent. The scent of perfume was a signal for Dogan's dog. After picking up the scent, it would carry the goods to Dogan. Of course, this had to be done while Elbert was away from his cell. I'm surprised he never found out about it, pal. We have a strict timetable here at the prison. Mealtime, exercise time, it's easy to know when he's away from his cell. And since little Rocky is afraid of Dogan's dog, I didn't have to worry about him making noise. So, having full knowledge of the prison's inner workings, she made the deliveries herself. This would have ensured there were no slip-ups. Frankie would turn the breakers back on in the early morning and the delivery was complete. I then modified the timestamp on the security camera. You have told us a great deal. The goddess of law accepts your penitent confession. As the warden of the prison, how could I have done such a foolish thing? The day Knightley was killed was also a delivery day. It seems Frankie was working the breakers as usual, but that day I had nothing to send, so I did not go to the courtyard at all. The secret of the supply system. So then Warden Roland was... The police have been searching for Dogan's henchmen for ages. I've also been helping them, but... I've been interrogating him personally in my office, but... No matter how much evidence we have on him, we can't get a single word out of him. So the reason you kept on interrogating him... Yes, it was to find his henchmen. What the fuck? I borrowed all the evidence from the police and carried out the interrogation myself. I kept an eye on all his actions and examined all his mail. Mail like his correspondence chess letters. But I could never uncover the true identity of his henchmen. This fear. It's something you could never understand. Prosecutor Edgeworth, you were listening, right? I'd say this confession clears the warden of all suspicion. Is it really necessary to press her further than this? Is it necessary to press her further? Of course. Press further. Judge Courtney, my questioning isn't over yet. I'm sure the goddess of law isn't satisfied yet either. You mean to badger this woman further? Even if she was threatened by Dogan, this does not prove she was not the culprit in this case. She was able to use the supply route to transport Knightley's body. Do you have any evidence to support this? The body gave off a sweet scent. The scent of perfume that was used to signify delivery. Can you explain this fact? Oh, of course. Since I have made so many deliveries, the scent would have lingered around the well. When the body was moved through the well, the scent would have transferred to it. Mr. Elbert also testified to this fact. That's it, for some reason, that well gave off a nice scent. A nice scent. I don't know what it was, but it smelled sweet, like candy. The lingering scent in the well would, of course, be picked up by anything passing through it. The defense rests. I see. In that case, court is adjourned. Mr. Edgeworth, isn't there anything we can do? What should I do? Is this as far as I can go? Is it over already? Yes, Sebastian, it is. And now, court is officially adjourned. I like the design on her hammer too. Is this going to be Ray? Or Gumshoe? Ray! Who was that? Hey, it was Ray. I really do like his theme. It's not nice of you to adjourn things like that, Courtney Pie. Mr. Shields. Are you objecting to the court adjourning? Of course not. I ain't got no objection or anything like that. Go ahead and adjourn court. Do whatever you like. Hey, what are you doing, Mr. Shields? Whoa there, calm down, Kay. Who wants some chocolate? Is this a joke? You'll have to excuse me. I just have one tiny request to make. The Simon Key's attorney. That's right, you're the defense attorney in charge of this case, aren't you? Exactly, did you all forget? That's so mean. Well, you just left everything to Mr. Edgeworth and didn't do anything at all. Yes, that's right. That's why I thought I'd do my job a bit. Do your job? That hardly sounds like you at all. It's to prepare for the trial. I'd like to ask the warden a few questions. Surely you jest. What more would you expect to hear from her? Well, Miss Warden, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the culprit. My thoughts? Uncle Ray believes that Simon is not the culprit. It seems that Miss Warden also suspects someone else, or someone other than Simon. I'd like to hear you out. Mr. Edgeworth, what's Mr. Shields up to? He's trying to lure Warden Roland into testifying. Why was the supply route used to transport the body? I'd say it was to pin the crime on Dogan. I see. If he committed a murder here, he would be transferred to another prison. One with tighter security. And that would get rid of the troublemaker. Exactly. She wouldn't pass up a chance like that. Hey, hold on a sec. The culprit besides Simon? Well, what do you mean? Simon was the one I was supposed to prosecute. Exactly. So wouldn't it be better if the best also listened to what she has to say? Amazing, Mr. Shields. You managed to drag Mr. DeBest into this too. Ha ha ha! Warden Roland, is this acceptable? Oh, you. It's fine. It's fine. You understand a woman's heart. Thank you, Mademoiselle. Actually, I've thought this over. I'd like to tell you my thoughts. You'll let me speak, won't you, Justine darling? Of course. You may speak. Mr. Shields. Awesome! Whew, that was a close shave. Thank you, Mr. Shields. No, I'm still leaving the rest to you. Remember what I said. A defense attorney never gives up. The fate of our client rests on our shoulders, after all. It'd be uncool if Uncle Ray didn't put that into practice. Now then, Miles, it's your turn to show you'll never give up. Right. Well then, will you listen to my story? My story? I believe that the culprit in this case could only have been Dogan. I have no idea what transpired between Dogan and the victim. It simply could have been that Dogan was displeased with him. In any case, he was the one who stabbed the victim to death. He probably had a dog dispose of the body. This is the truth of the case. The victim, Mr. Knightley, was it? I think it is a truly terrible thing. Taking a man's life, you mean? That's how you'd go about saying it, isn't it? If only I had been more vigilant, his death would not have happened. That's why I want to clear up his regrets. Warden Roland. How considerate. I'm sure Mr. Knightley in heaven is overflowing with gratitude. Is gratitude really what Knightley feels? Yeah. My story. So you seem very confident of that. How can you be so sure? The children of this home are all good little boys and girls. Believe in yourself, believe in your friends, and believe in me and the guards. There is no way any of these hardworking children could have committed the murder. Quite an emotional reason. Makes sense, coming from someone like her. Oh wow. Only Dogen would be capable of doing something like that. Knightley was being held in the detention center, and Dogen was in the prison. They couldn't make any contact. Don't you think that would have prevented trouble? The prison is quite confined, right? There were many ways for them to meet. Knightley was murdered days before he would have been sentenced to prison. Surely there weren't many ways a meeting could have occurred. Even without a direct meeting, Dogen can still cause trouble. Mark my words. What could Knightley have done in the detention center to displease him? That was just an example. You don't have to take it so seriously. Didn't I already say that I have no idea what transpired between them? Nevertheless, you certainly are a serious one, Edgeworth, dear. What's this? That piercing gaze. Always standing straight and stiff. Very nice. Looking very clever, my dear. I think I'm about to become your biggest fan. Oh, not another. Mr. Edgeworth, stay focused. It's just a flesh wound. Right. Is this some form of psychological warfare? Very well could be. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the circumstances surrounding the murder. Well, I suppose it was a simple job. During his booking, I learned that the victim had some kind of injury to his neck. He couldn't turn his neck to the right. I remember him saying something like that. Booking. That's the process one undergoes before being locked up in the detention center. Sounds like you don't really know a lot about Knightley. I only know a little. In any case, he would have been an easy